Thank you, Mark, and everybody. Sorry we have to cut that off. I think we could all listen to the panel for hours upon hour. I mean, really great conversations here, and quite relevant, hopefully, for all the upcoming missions, certainly for MSL, and hopefully along many years of additional missions, we hope. So just bear with us for a second as we get ready. And all right.
It should be possible to.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I think right there will be fine. All right, for our final speaker before our breakout sessions. I think I mentioned yesterday as we were opening up, Rebecca Kaiser is actually, we could call the co-founder of this conference. This conference came about because Rebecca and I were chatting in her office at NASA headquarters. I think it was back in early May. And we were discussing the changing demographics in the space community, how many more women there were than there were 20 years ago. And of course, at that time, we were thinking it seemed as though there were more women involved in Mars exploration than other areas of the space community. We didn't have a clue if this was correct or not. It was just anecdotal information. But we thought it would be a great topic for a conference, and this is how this conference came about because of this chat with Rebecca. So as you probably know, Rebecca is the Associate Deputy Administrator for Policy Integration. In her position, she reports directly to Laurie Garver, the Deputy Administrator, primary coordinator for agency-level policy efforts. She served as Executive Officer for the Deputy Administrator's role, in which she managed the office staff, provided policy analysis and advice, and facilitated communication across the agency. Prior to that, she was Chief of Staff for the Exploration Systems Mission Director at NASA HQ. She also served as Executive Officer to former Deputy Administrator Shana Dale. She has an impressive additional background in international relations with NASA. She served as NASA's Office of Interagency Relations as the lead for France, Spain, and Portugal. And she also has kind of a bachelor's degree in Japanese studies from Wesley College, a master's of science degree in politics and world economics from London School of Economics, and a doctorate in international studies from the University of South Carolina. And she's won numerous awards, and I think I have lost my ability to talk by the end of the conference. So, ladies and gentlemen, Rebecca Kaiser.
Thank you. I will not speak for an hour. So, I know many of you I'm sure are hungry. Over the past 2 days, you've heard from an incredibly talented and diverse group of participants and speakers, and it's hard to even know what else I can add to the conversation. But this conference, as Chris said, began from a conversation between him and I, but he really took it and he developed it into this great conference that we have experienced over the past couple of days. So I'd appreciate it if you could just give Chris a round of applause for this great work. Okay, so whenever I think of what I'm going to say related to women in science, STEM, and space, I think of my daughter. She's 5 and she's in kindergarten. The world is open to her still, and she has a lot of opportunities and choices to make that will shape her future. Right now, she's deciding among being a ballerina, a doctor, and President of the United States, but only the last if I can arrange a play date with Sasha and Malia Obama so she could experience the White House life firsthand. And I have not been able to do that, unfortunately. But I think about how her gender identity is shaping her. Certainly, few boys strive to be ballet dancers. And if they do want to be ballet dancers, that's okay. But as a girl, she also strives to be a doctor and president. I believe that now she has the best of both worlds. All the opportunities that being female bring. After all, it is fabulous to be a woman. And sorry guys, but I don't know what I would do if my clothing choices were limited to what color tie and what color button-down shirt to wear. But also all the opportunities that, well, being a person, bring without the more obvious limitations that many of us felt as girls when we were growing up. But that does not mean that being a female in today's society is without its challenges. Every group has its advantages and also things to overcome. There are stereotypes of most groups, and there are particular stereotypes of women. And unfortunately, often these stereotypes are internalized by women themselves, albeit subconsciously. Claude Steele, in the book Whistling Vivaldi, describes what he calls a stereotype threat. All of us have a pretty good idea what others in our society think about particular groups. In other words, most of us in our society could write down a list of some of the major stereotypes about a group, such as women, and this list would be in close agreement with the list that others in our society would write. And anything that we do that seems to fit the stereotype could be seen as confirming it, and so we could be judged and treated accordingly. The stereotype threat is present in any situation in which the stereotype is relevant, and it could be there in our minds subconsciously, affecting our behavior and performance without us even knowing it. In the journal Science, in the early 1980s, two psychologists conducted several studies of differences in math performance between men and women. They selected 8th grade boys and girls who were very good in math and who had the same coursework in math up to that point, and who had scored in the top 3% of test takers on the math standardized exam. They then gave the students the math section of the SAT, which is very difficult, of course, for 8th graders. The girls underperformed in relation to the boys. The conclusion of the authors was that the lower performance of the girls may reflect a lesser biological capacity for math among women that reveals itself when the math was difficult. This is the early 1980s. It's not that long ago. Claude Steele disproved this hypothesis. His hypothesis was that for motivated women taking a tough math test, the pressure not to conform to the stereotype was part of their normal experience in taking difficult math tests. This pressure resulted in frustration, which then, ironically, caused them to underperform. Steele administered a math test to women, and before starting, he told them that you may have heard that women don't do as well as men on difficult standardized math tests. But that's not true for this particular standardized math test. On this particular test, women always do as well as men. When women were given the test with that statement, they performed at the same high level as equally skilled men. Without that statement, women underperformed relative to men. This seems to confirm the hypothesis that the threat of confirming, or being seen to confirm, society's darker suspicions about their math ability created so much pressure that they do end up confirming the stereotype. So this subconscious stress regarding stereotypes can explain a great deal. And not everybody confirms the stereotype. Therefore, we do have a lot of incredibly talented and wonderful and accomplished women mathematicians, scientists, and engineers. But we have many who do, unfortunately, subconsciously confirm the stereotype. Given that, what's the solution? The solution in the long run is to change the stereotypes, and therefore the perception of groups such as women in our society and their abilities. And through that, reduce the pressure on groups such as women and allow their actual abilities to shine through. But I know this may be idealistic. It's a long-term goal. So what can we do in the near term? One way is definitely role modeling. The more women who are out there publicly in math, science, and engineering-related fields, the more the stereotype is shown to be untrue, and the more we can change the overall perceptions in society. This is not a challenge unique to the United States. For instance, it was good news that recently China selected two female taikonauts out of 7. However, a parliamentarian was quoted as saying, in the selection, we had almost the same requirements on women candidates as those for men. But the only difference was that the women must be married, as we believe married women would be more physically and psychologically mature. Yes, he said, women astronauts theoretically enjoy advantages over their male counterparts in terms of endurance and circumspection. Another interesting figure in the space arena is Lena Divini. She's the Russian-born wife of the European astronaut Frank Divini, and the author of the book My Countdown, which chronicles some of the most difficult aspects of her husband's mission. And she also chronicles some of the challenges she's had, such as the trouble she had with Russian space agency officials who tried to persuade her not to attend her husband's launch and landing in person. Traditionally, the Russian system has been very male-dominated, as you know, and some believe that women bring bad luck to spaceflight. So Divini said, "I have heard it seriously told to me, you should not go to the launch because then it would bring bad luck to any of the vehicles. And so do you want your husband to die if you insist on going to the launch?" So Divini wasn't dissuaded by these remarks and insisted on seeing her husband's launch and landing. And, you know, it was okay. He launched and landed safely, even though a woman was there. So the above examples show that the issue of stereotypes of women is not unique to the United States. There are biases and stereotypes around the world. And so the number of models, role models, that there are in Mars for women around the world can help subvert these stereotypes internationally. And of course, around the world, Mars exploration is of great interest, as we've talked about very frequently over the last couple of days. The Europeans, the Japanese, the Russians are all planning robotic missions. The International Space Exploration Coordination Group, ISEG, their Global Exploration Strategy in 2007 and their Global Exploration Roadmap in 2011 both document the consensus of the participating countries, there are 14 participating countries, that Mars is the ultimate destination for human spaceflight of the future. This is supported by the science community, of course, in the Planetary Decadal Survey, stating that human missions to Mars can contribute more to planetary science than any other destination. And Steve Squires, who's a big advocate of this perspective, is going to be the chair of the NASA Advisory Council. So that's a wonderful plus for Martians around the country and the world. But of course, this is one of just many reasons to involve women in Mars exploration, the role modeling. The other reasons are basic but important. Those involved in this important international endeavor should be reflective of the diversity of our population as a whole. They should represent the groups that make up our society, both domestically and internationally. And only through such diversity will we get the diversity of ideas that truly spark innovation and move technology, science, and our societies forward. I was just speaking to a NASA colleague who's been at NASA for more than 40 years and who happens to be a woman. She said that 40 years ago, when she joined NASA, she received incredible resentment because she was viewed as stealing a job from a man. I greatly respect her as she stuck with the agency. She was not given a monetary bonus while she was married, with a justification that she was married and her husband should provide the money to her. Once she was divorced and it got more into the late 70s and early 80s, she was able to get bonuses. But I contrast her experiences with our early career employees. We have a program for early career employees at NASA called NASA First. And the first group at JSC, Johnson Space Center in Houston, chose to do a special project aimed at encouraging middle school girls to pursue STEM. They did so by filming videos featuring early career women at NASA. And when they previewed the videos to me and to the head of NASA Education and the head of NASA Human Capital, we needed that box of tissues on the table. What was so inspiring was not only the videos themselves, but the energy, creativity, and enthusiasm of the group that thought of the website concept. Again, early career NASA employees, male and female, and who put such care into putting these videos together. We'll be rolling out the website with the videos soon. It'll be connected to the Women at NASA website, which is women.nasa.gov. And this particular website will be called Aspire to Inspire, A2I. So we have energy and we have enthusiasm, and I believe we'll continue to grow and open opportunities in space to women, to an increasing diversity of backgrounds overall, women and men. And through this, stereotypes will dissipate and the good trend towards openness and diversity will continue. This isn't just pie in the sky. I think it's the right way to go. I think that much of the leadership of our nation and of the world believe it's the right way to go. Okay, so maybe, the Russians might still think that women are bad luck for a while longer. We'll have to work on that one and that stereotype, but it's just the right thing to do. And I've made this my personal mission at NASA, and I continue to work towards this goal, and I know you all do too. So we're going to land on Mars with Curiosity. On the day after Thanksgiving, we're going to launch it. And its instruments will tell us whether environments on Mars could have supported life. That's cool stuff. That's the kind of thing that appeals to all of us, to our imaginations, to what we can learn about the origins of life itself, and so much more. And we're using the launch as an opportunity to reach out to the public and to students. NASA is holding the National Mars Educator Conference with 150 educators on the heels of the launch. We're launching a mobile app to watch the launch. We're creating a 3D immersive Gale crater experience on the iPad that will put the public right in the middle of the Gale crater. And in the future, you'll be able to use this to select a landing site and go on an actual rover traverse. We have 3 documentaries being filmed, and we're working with museums around the country on touchables, on models, and on professional development with Mars experts. We have a ton going on to appeal to the public, showing the great value of Mars for learning, inspiration, and motivation. So communication is important, and outreach is important. Connection with the people is important, and Mars is the perfect platform for all of this. Maybe before my daughter's president, she'll be a Mars scientist, Mars engineer. I'm trying. Now she can, and with all the budget challenges and the negative things going on that we talk about all the time, I don't know about you, but it gives me hope and optimism about our society in the future every time I think about our Mars program. Thank you very much. Sure, any questions? I'm happy. It's lunchtime.
There was an app for the launch, you said?
Yes, there's an app for the launch. Is Lisa around? Well, we can get it on the website. Yeah. Hi, Lo.
I was curious, you mentioned all this nice stuff you're doing for outreach. How easily and where will it be available to people like myself?
Sure.
And will that be really up for us?
Absolutely. We have a website, and again, we'll put the web address out. One-stop shopping on this website for all of these different things that I'm talking about. We're trying to learn. NASA has about 40,000 different websites, and literally. And we're learning that maybe that's not such a good thing. So we're doing one-stop shopping for MSL, and we'll have everything on there.
What's the focus of the 3 documentaries?
Let's see. I have that here in my package. Okay. And we have, let's see, okay. So we have a documentary called Mars in a Minute. Actually, this is a series of documentaries that are it's going to be a series of Mars in a Minute episodes. Episodes are, Is Mars Really Red? How to Get to Mars? Going to be animated answers on with Mars FAQs, and it's going to be an introduction to Mars topics. We're going to have a documentary called The Challenges of Getting to Mars, and this is the launch prep, and it's going to feature choosing the landing site, transport of MSL to the Kennedy Space Center, launch and landing. And that should be available quite soon. It says November 2011. And The Martians is another documentary, Testing at the Cape. And it features the people who are passionate about Mars. And that one, again, says it should be quite available soon, November 2011. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you all very much. And please stay for lunch and for the workshops this afternoon. Thank you. Thank you. That was a lot.